Hello and welcome to Thank You Half Hour. I am your host, Tom Christopher Warren, and my guest today is someone I've known for a while. Born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii, made her Broadway debut in the brilliant play, M. Butterfly, and would go on to have an incredible Broadway career. Original Broadway cast of Seussical, 9 to 5, revival of Les Mis as Madame Thénardier, most recently a revival of Into the Woods as Jack's mom. But I think it's safe to say that most audiences recognize her as the iconic Christmas Eve in Avenue Q. I can't wait to talk about Avenue Q. I can't wait to learn more about Avenue Q. And TV audiences, of course, know her from Smash, Schmigadoon, and Schmicago. Please welcome the incomparable, the hilarious, the golden-voiced Ann Harada. Hey, Ann.
Hello, what a lovely introduction.
I do what I can.
Why don't you tell our guests how we first met?
Okay, sure. So, a holiday show called That Time of the Year, and it incorporated some Christmas stuff, some Hanukkah stuff. I don't think we incorporated any other holidays, winter
No.
holidays, but
New Year's Eve there was
the
a
New Year's,
song.
sure. There were dancing dreidels. There was, all kinds of things. And I'd worked on the show for a couple of years, and then Ann and I did it at the York Theater, and I feel like it had another life at the York after us or before us. I've been involved in so many incarnations because very dear friends of mine wrote it. And it was one of those, you rehearse for, 10 minutes and you learn
I'm not even sure we
3,000
hit that,
songs.
right?
I'm not either. And there's so many songs. There were so many songs, and all of them very wordy, just like lots of lyrics. And, you go out there and you're dressed as a dreidel and you're like, okay, I hope I know this. And I hope they laugh. It was one of those baptisms by fire shows where this tiny little cast just bonds immediately. Josh Grassetti, wasn't he in it with us?
Yes, indeed.
Right? I was just we laughed. And I was trying to figure out when that was. Do you remember?
No, I've tried to block it out of my mind.
I mean, it has to be.
But I'm going to assume it
20
was
years.
like early 2000s.
Yeah, probably. Because I think I did the first incarnation in the 90s. So, yeah, wild. And yet you and I haven't aged.
Not a whit.
The miracle of theater.
Isn't it?
I wanted to, okay, so Honolulu, Hawaii, the most beautiful place I've ever been. I was there for 3 months with the show and never wanted to leave. What was there for you that made you go, oh, I want to spend my life on the stage. Musical theater is my calling. What was it there that introduced you to the medium?
God only knows. I just sort of feel like I was attracted to the stage very young when my parents took me to like the touring shows that came into town, and I remember very young I saw, some Sound of Music tour, random, and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown tour. Get this, starring Jonathan Hadari,
Stop it.
who later ended up playing my father in my first equity show, and I was literally
Wow.
like, "This is a full circle moment, everybody."
Jonathan Hadari, I remember seeing him in Gypsy with Tyne
Yeah,
Daly, and he was
yeah.
incredible.
Oh, he's great. So, you know, so that, and then also like just in school, I remember being in second grade and watching the sixth graders do a show that they had written about, the ecology and like how great it was to recycle and whatever, that kind of stuff. And I was like, gosh, this should be terrible, but it's actually kind of good. And I was amazed that young people could be good. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And I
Yeah.
thought, well, maybe I could do that somehow, you know.
Yeah.
And always sang in like choir and stuff, and I sort of did that kind of performing, but I didn't really hit the stage until my freshman year in high school, because my girlfriend wanted to audition for a play, and so of course I went with her, and of course I got a part,
Of
and she didn't
course.
get a part, but it wasn't like I got a great part. I was like one of the servants in The Importance of Being Earnest.
Sure.
Um, you know, and from such tiny, tiny roles,
Oh,
I
come.
just love doing theater. I just was never
Yeah.
happier. And I'm still
Yeah.
that way. I'm not happy unless I'm in a theater, and I just don't like other places so much.
Yeah. We're in the middle, and I wrestled with, do I I started this podcast about a year ago, and the world was not in a great place, but we weren't where we are now. And I thought,
Right.
do I want to keep talking about theater? Does it feel frivolous? And landed on that's what I need. That's sort of my life's blood in order to sort of feel some sense of normalcy amidst what is very far from normal, right? Our current landscape is
This is it.
bonkers.
You can't be in the theater for your life without, it's a calling, right? It's not just
Mm,
like a job.
mm,
It's something that we are called to do, and we do it. And sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's hard. But it's a calling. It's just like, being a nun. It's like, I'm just not going to give up because I don't like it today. It's like, this is all I can do. This is how I feel. Like, this is what we're supposed to do, and we're doing it. And what's crazy, Tom, is that I did the stage production of Schmigadoon at the Kennedy Center very recently.
yeah.
Right? That was the week that it all went down at the
Yep.
Kennedy Center.
Oh, we're
And literally, I've never seen audiences so grateful. The line around, at the stage door after the show went around the Kennedy Center. Like, people just wanted to talk to us and thank us for being there, and they were so grateful we were there. And they were like, "This might be the last show I ever see here, and I'm so grateful that you came." And and literally, like, you don't know what to say to that except,
yeah,
like, you just want to say, like, "Guys, we're in a musical. It's a musical. Like, calm down." But also, I do recognize that people need to be comforted. They need to have community. They need to be with other people who are feeling the same way. And that's what theater does. Like, in the best of situations, you are giving something to that audience that they need. And, is it frivolous? In some ways, yes. Does it make a
sure.
difference? Who the hell knows? But I have to believe that we're doing something that's worthwhile, because I've talked to people who have told me that it is. And I don't want to minimize anyone's feelings about how a piece of theater, you know, affects them. And I know what theater has done for me when I've been in trouble, and you know what
Right.
I mean. So I just feel like, well, whatever, we're doing the best work that we can do. We were given an opportunity to follow our calling. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't
It's
either. And
completely up to each individual person as to whether they care. I don't ask
right.
I don't ask people to care about my job or my life or what I do. It's fine if you don't, I get it. But this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean, we
know.
have this collective bargaining agreement where we all just sort of collectively decide we're going to sit in the same space, we're going to share space, we're going to think we're going to frame what's happening in a different way for 2 hours or an hour and a half or 2.5 hours, and we will come out of it however we come out of it. But for that time, we share this experience, and that in and of itself is healing for many people. It certainly is for me.
Yeah, me too. You
And
know.
especially, when you see young people in the audience, we have kids in our audience all the time, and they're not plugged into what's happening politically, and they do experience it through their own lens, and it is magical. It's beautiful to see them hopeful and optimistic. And we played a student audience at 11 o'clock last week, and it was a sold out house of largely students of color, and seeing themselves represented as royalty in The Lion King is spiritual in so many ways, and we're lucky to be able to do it, I think.
Yeah, agree. You know, I
I
mean,
want
your
to.
your your show especially. I just feel like, who doesn't love that show? Who doesn't respond to that show? Who doesn't have an emotional feeling of some kind? Just listening to the songs.
Same with Schmigadoon, though, in a different way. It's reflecting what happens in the world and poking fun at it while still being a complete love letter to it. A
Yeah,
love
of
letter to
course.
the art form, poking fun at the art form, and still managing to be social commentary. What a perfect time for the existence of that show live. How did it compare? I mean, compare is a weird word,
Oh,
but
this is an easy one. It was way better. It was
How so?
way better doing it on stage than it was doing it on TV. And the
Yeah.
difference was because when we shot Schmigadoon, it was during the pandemic,
Mm.
and we were in Vancouver, right? So basically, everybody flies up to Vancouver, and then we're immediately quarantined for 2 weeks in our hotel rooms. Like we just can't leave our room,
Insane.
And it's Canada, so they check. They call you every day, random hour. Hi, you still there, Miss Harada? Yes, I am. Like don't leave your room. Okay, like they're really
Okay.
on it. And I'm literally like washing my clothes in the tub, going, "There's got to be a better way than this." But it's also like, you're calling your whatever, your food delivery service, or I mean, it's not like you can't live. You can do
Right.
it. It's
Right.
just super boring and dumb. So then we're doing that. So then finally when you're let out of your cage, you're like, this is great. And you go to set, but you can't really hang out with people, right? Are you with me? So
Same
it's
for Schmicago. Was it the same the
Oh
second
no,
season?
Schmicago was much more loose. We had
Okay.
a lot more freedom. We could actually like socialize a little bit.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
like
Nice.
season 1, we were sneaking around trying to socialize. I mean, I don't want to put it too mildly, but it was
Oh,
like,
I
oh
get
my
it.
god, you guys, let's go have pizza. Like, Kristen and Ariana were like, I've got a frozen pizza in my room. Okay, like, so
Anything for community. Yeah.
anything, just to like talk to some people.
Yeah.
But it was weird, and we weren't allowed to like watch each other's stuff. You
Oh.
can't go to set and watch or hang out or do anything because we're in quarantine, or like we're just not supposed to be there because it's not good policy,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And it was all shields and masks, and until the very last minute. I mean, there
Wow.
were people. I literally swear, I never had a scene with Aaron Tveit in the entire first season. I never saw him. I never saw him. And then like I'm watching the show, going like, gosh, he's great. I have no idea what's going. Like, no idea what's going on. And then in one moment in season 1, we walk past each other. Like that's it. No interaction. He walks this way, I walk this way. I'm like, that's it. That was my big on-screen moment.
With Aaron Tveit.
Aaron Tveit. And everybody's asking me, like, what's it like to work with him? I'm like, I could not tell you. I have no idea.
Oh, but so much fun with Alan Cumming. I mean, the
Oh my
two
gosh,
of you
he's
just
lovely,
had
of
such
course.
good chemistry.
He's a legend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, all
As are
those
you.
people are hilarious, wonderful people.
A-list all around. And what was the
A-list all
stage
around.
production like?
Same. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
was it?
again, like musical comedy, gods.
Playtime. Yeah.
Super, super fun. That's all we did was laugh, the whole time. And it didn't, I don't know, like, it wasn't like I didn't think the material was going to work. I knew the material was going to work because I
Sure.
saw it,
Yeah.
right? But the freedom of doing it live on stage, it's so different. Because I remember singing that song when we taped it on set, and it was one of those things where it was like, okay, Anne, um, so Cecily's over there, and you're going to stand by this picture of Alan. I mean, it couldn't have been less rehearsed. It was literally like,
Right.
stand over there, move over there, come back. Okay, that's the end of the song. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
and we're recording it live, so if we can use this version, we will, but otherwise we'll use the, demo, whatever. I'm like, okay, fine. It was all very not organic. Is that the word I want to
Yeah.
use?
Yeah.
And
Well,
TV is not organic anyway because you can't, like for me, I'm always so worried about like I'm closing my eyes too much. I'm blinking. I look funny. The camera's right in your face, and you can't really sing out because you're gonna overwhelm everybody, and it
sure.
doesn't feel like a thing. It just feels like don't be too much. Be okay. Don't move your head. Like it feels very like that
Yeah.
restrictive. But then on stage, I'm like, whatever.
Well, you also have no community with the audience when you're on camera, and here
Right.
it's a
Oh no, I
funny
had,
show.
I had Cecily. I had Cecily on a couch, 3 feet away from me, and I'm like, okay, I hope you like the song. No, no, no. And so, but like when we were on stage, I was like, this is so easy. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, if I take 2 steps to the right, I'm not going to get yelled at.
Was it approached as a developmental in any way? Is there hopes of it continuing? Is that, or is that something you can't talk about? But are
Of
they
course, there
licensing
are
it?
hopes for it
Yeah,
continuing. Of
sure,
course,
sure,
everybody was like, this is going to Broadway. And Tom, when I tell you, I'm involved in so many projects like that right now,
sure.
as I'm sure you have been in your life,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you do a reading and they're like, this is going to Broadway. I'm like, I'm sure it will. And I hope that you call me when it does. But I'm not holding my breath, you
Right. Not
know.
a lot of people holding breath. Yeah.
No, because it's just bullshit. It's all bullshit till you get the offer. That's how I feel.
It's bullshit until the curtain rises, frankly. I
Well,
mean,
that's
yeah,
true.
I've gotten the offer and I've gotten almost to tech and I've got, the
Right. No, and
process
then,
is
the
bonkers.
right. They pull the funding or somebody gets
Yeah.
arrested and it's all over. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I'm working on a lot of things.
Yeah. In our bizarre world, just all
Yeah.
the plates spinning on all the
Yeah,
sticks. I know. I know.
I mean, I'm still doing my 29-hour readings like there's no
Mhm.
tomorrow, Pally.
Ah. I want to know about, because you were with Avenue Q from the beginning, right? From its
Mhm.
inception. How much of what we see as Christmas Eve in the final licensed Avenue Q the musical was there at the beginning? How much of it was Ann Harada? How much of it sort of evolved like Venus from the clamshell? I want to know about that.
Well, I don't know what to say because that was a process that went on for so long
Mm.
that eventually, of so much of her is me, just because it's my personality. Because,
Is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
because the writers were hanging out with us, and it was like, oh, well, Anne could do it like this, or what do you think about that? You know, um, we're all our characters, really. I just I don't know how to explain it any other way. Like, the reason that Brian turns out to be a consultant at the end of Avenue Q is because my husband is a consultant, and nobody could ever understand what it was he did for a living, and it was such a nebulous concept. And it was like, well,
Sure.
just make Brian a consultant. And like, okay, great, and that's a joke that's in the show, but that's just because it's me and my husband. And I will say, that Avenue Q, it was one of the first times that I'd ever been involved with something so long, like we'd been developing it for
Mm.
years, right? So that I felt confident and comfortable saying to the writers sometimes, guys, that little musical intro music, I think it's a little chinky dinky do, and I wish you would
Hmm.
quit it. And they're like, okay.
Great.
You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
I think, like lots of times you don't feel empowered as a performer to be able to say, this is making me a little uncomfortable. You remember, Tom, when we did our show together, that I
Indeed.
was the
Indeed.
one that had to raise my hand and go, I'm a little uncomfortable with this. Although I didn't say
Right.
it like that. I said, if you don't cut that thing, I'm going to walk.
Well, because for generations we weren't empowered. We didn't, that wasn't a part of the conversation. And now it
No.
is. And it should be. Did you know when it was downtown? I mean, it feels like Avenue Q was built as something sort of underground and subversive. And the comedy is rooted in really wonderfully dark and hilarious stuff, but framed in this uh,
Children's television.
children's television, right? Children's programming. It was something the size of a Broadway show on your radar? Did you think it would be that massive? Did you think you would win the fucking Tony over Wicked?
Oh,
Or
don't be
was it,
ridiculous. Nobody
I
thought
mean,
that.
bonkers? Right.
Yeah, no,
Right.
that it even happened at all. I still can't believe. Um, but
Fabulous.
no, in fact, when they said it to us, I was like, "You're insane. We can't do this on Broadway." I was like, "Oh, who's gonna come?" I was like, "You can't see it." Like I was like, "They're puppets on hands. who's going to be able to see
Having
that from
sex,
way
right?
back? Yeah, but that's that's
Yeah.
nothing. It's a bunch of elbows going like this. It's nothing. But you
Hysterical.
can't. I'm just like saying, like, but like, the idea that like a whole bunch of people are going to pay money to watch a puppet on a hand, and and then you're like, are their heads big enough? Like, like the faces on the puppets big enough to read?
Just the scale, right?
Yeah, like the scale of it just seems so bizarre. Because even at the Vineyard, which is 125 seats or whatever it was, I was like, this is perfect. Let's just stop. My dream, I'll say this, was like, we're gonna move into like, that theater that Little Shop was in.
Yeah, right. The Orpheum
The Orpheum.
downtown.
We're gonna move
Yeah,
to the Orpheum and we're gonna run for 25 years. Like this was my dream.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, great, I got it. And then the thing became a huge hit, and they were like, we're gonna move it uptown. I was like, oh no. How was I to know? I mean, I'm really a dope. I'm so glad that it happened. And then
It
Best Musical,
changed.
of course we didn't. Nobody thought we were gonna win Best Musical. Like this is what happened. Okay, so it's the Tony. So you do your number, and then you like hang out, right? We did our number and we were hanging out in the back and they were like, okay, they're going to present Best Musical. And we're like, oh, we better make a space for Idina. So like, we're literally like clearing room, like here, everybody's going to come this way. So let's just clear
Yeah, back
out,
up.
a
Yeah.
back up out of the way. And then they were like, it's Avenue Q. We were like, what?
Who?
So then it was like, let's run to the stage. Okay, now granted, we never discussed this, but we were like, this is our big moment. We're gonna run to the stage. So we run hysterically to the stage, and the whole thing just was so surreal. It just couldn't have been happening. We didn't believe it. It just seemed like, okay, we'll just play along with this and then on the Chiron at Radio City, it said Wicked. It didn't say Avenue Q. It said
Oh
Wicked.
my
'Cause
God.
that's what it should have won. Wicked. Everybody knows that. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, fine, but we're on the stage. I don't know. Our producers are talking. I guess something's happening.
I guess we won.
I guess we won, but it was so weird. It was so weird.
And now it's a legit part of the zeitgeist. I mean, in an
Sure.
extraordinary way. And you are the only person to have done the show both on the West End and Broadway, yeah?
Yes.
That's exciting. How did you
That's
find London?
because the British Christmas Eve actress that had been hired got a TV show and had to bail at the last moment, just as
Lovely.
they were starting rehearsals.
Oh.
And they were desperate. Desperate. Like, I mean, I can't even tell you. Because the girl they had hired to be her understudy did not have the greatest grasp of English.
Okay.
So they didn't feel they could like just bump her up.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, okay, who's available, right? And I had just left the Broadway company because I'd had a baby.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm tired, guys. I'm going to leave. Thanks. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. I literally just left. And they called me up, literally Cameron McIntosh on the phone going like, could you come and work in the West End, darling? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, I have a baby. I live in New York with my husband and my baby and my elderly parents.
Wow.
And he was like, bring everybody, darling. I was like,
Stop.
Oh yeah. Desperate. When I say desperate, I mean desperate. He was like,
Wow.
I will arrange for all of your visas. I'll rent you a flat. I said, all right, well, if you rent me a flat, I need one with an elevator, a lift,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to be near a tube stop. And I need to be near a grocery store and a pharmacy because I have a baby. And elderly parents.
Wow.
And he was like, I'm done. Because, I mean, I just imagine him saying stuff like, I don't know what he's really like, but I'm just saying. He's like, done. I was like, okay. And then so this thing happened in like a matter of days. And then I was like, guys, we're moving to London for 6 months. Pack heavy. So,
how old is Elvis now? Is he?
Well,
19?
Elvis is 20.
Wow.
Although, now, Tom,
Yes.
It's these days, so no longer goes by Elvis. It goes by
Oh, okay.
Lydia.
Lydia, thank you. Okay.
Yes, yes.
20. And when we worked together a million years ago, they were very into the planets, if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
that's
Is that
right. Couldn't
right?
care less. Now,
Ah,
they have their own YouTube channel where they basically put up their own version of like the Billboard top
oh,
40, although it's
cool.
really the top 30 in their algorithm. They make their own
Okay.
algorithm to chart. So they're into popular music, they're into the NFL,
Oh,
knows everything about football. I know. The whole thing
wow.
is
I know
really weird.
nothing about it. Okay.
And also cares a lot about student theater.
Uh,
at SUNY Purchase has a really good theater program, but of course they
yeah.
weren't interested in that when they went in.
Sure.
So they're a communications major, but for some reason has developed an
Okay.
interest in student shows. And now they're like interested in going to the theater. And I'm like, now you're interested. I mean, when I tell you I spent their childhood desperately trying to like convince them to like take a class or
Sure.
like dance or theater games or any old thing that has to do with the theater because I've
Sure.
got connections, buddy. Yeah, couldn't have cared less. And now they're all interested, and I'm like, you're really working my last nerve.
Does Lydia want to be on stage, or is it the backstage, or the producing, or like what aspect of it?
Likes a lot of it.
Mm,
In high school, they were really into like you know um the tech, and
mm.
now is performing more. Seems
Cool.
to enjoy it. Um, you know,
Awesome.
but
I
it's
love it.
in a way it's great because their interest in like shows now, at least we have something to talk about. Like
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, do you know Beth Lovell?" I was like, "Yes, I do."
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Or like, they'll go and they'll like go back. They'll wait right at the stage door to say hi to
Uh-huh.
people, and then I'll get some picture of them with somebody. Like, do you know him? I was like, yeah, I do.
I had Brian Darcy on the show. And I was like, what? Like, how do you reconcile your dad being Shrek? Like, how do you at that age? Because his daughter was so little.
Yeah,
Do you make sense of it? How do you make peace with it? Does it make you insane? I find that fascinating. My performer friends with kids who grew up in the business, they grew up backstage
yeah,
with famous friends.
famous-ish.
I mean, yeah, right.
I
In
mean,
my mind,
as my
you know.
husband says, you're a household name if your house is on 45th Street.
I might steal that.
No,
That's
I mean it's true though. I
it's
mean seriously.
absolutely true.
I'm amazing on 45th Street. Anywhere else nobody is like cares at
Lies,
all.
lies.
Um yeah, but yeah.
What put Christmas Eve with Christmas Eve into your brain?
Oh,
Where,
this was so dumb.
what?
Okay, this was one of
Oh
those
God.
things where you're like hanging out backstage and saying like, "Would it be funny if we did a show?" And then you actually do it, you know. And um and we just kept doing it because they let us. And there it was nothing more than that. It was just an excuse for me to be like, wouldn't it be great to like sing duets with like really cute guys? Some of
I
whom I
mean,
knew, some of whom I did not know, right? But
okay.
under but me going like, well, I'm doing this benefit. you know, I know you don't know me, but
How many years did you do it? 4 years?
oh my
Five
god,
years?
so many years. I don't know.
Did,
6? I don't know. So many years, but like not consecutively, right? Because sometimes
hmm.
I'd be working during Christmas time and then that would
Sure.
scotch it. And now I don't think I can do it because I don't know that I want to saddle Broadway Cares with
Mm,
how can I say, the political incorrectness of Christmas Eve. There
sure.
are a lot of people who really do not appreciate her and her accent, man. They
Sure.
really don't get it. And I'm like, You can explain it. I've tried to explain it and defend it a million
Sure.
ways. But it's like, okay, if you're offended by this, that's okay. I'm sorry, but
Right.
you know, right? There's not a whole lot I can do about it. It's like, this is the character. This is why she has an accent. This is why she has to have an accent in the context of the show. And I've defended all kinds of characters like that. I had to defend Bloody Mary, when I
Ah,
did
Aspen.
yeah, at
Yes.
Aspen.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Why did you guys agree to play in this orchestra if you didn't know what the show was about?
She's not from Pittsburgh. I mean,
No.
the play is the play, and that was so much. There was so much backlash on South Pacific when it premiered, and they wanted to cut Carefully Taught, and Mitchner had
Well,
to
that's
step
the
in and
whole
said that's the whole
point of it.
point.
But like,
Exactly.
and I would just say, like, are you not listening to Carefully Taught? Do you not see that if you don't have this part, you can't have that part? Like, I'm just like, I don't get it, people. Seriously, this is like my number one problem with the
Yep.
progressive wokeness is
Yep.
like
Yep. Yep.
everything is contextual. You know,
We've
I
eliminated nuance, I think,
oh, nuance is a
and
dinosaur.
context.
It is gone, gone, gone. And I am kind of too old to be needing to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
Or wanting to explain, certainly wanting to explain it. I never want to explain it again. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm also tired of having to defend um, my values. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you think I would play a character that I thought was offensive to my race? You know what I mean? I just don't get it.
Well, how do you explain social commentary as a form of political awareness? It in and of itself is nuanced, and some people just don't want to look that deeply.
You know, and I'm going to forgive the young people a little more because I feel like they just don't have the experience
Mm-hmm.
and they may not. It's easy for me, I guess, in a way, to sort of go, this is a racist behavior, and this really isn't all that racist to me because I've experienced it in my life, right?
Sure.
So if I'm sort of inured to some things, maybe it is really racist, but I don't care because to me it's kind of a harmless thing, or like this isn't anything that's going to affect any major policy, or you know what I mean, it's not
Okay. Yeah.
hurtful, not physically hurtful or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to sort of go like, whatever, it is what it is. Like, do I love Mickey Rooney playing a Japanese guy like that? No.
Right.
Am I never going to see Breakfast at Tiffany again? Also no. I love Breakfast at Tiffany.
Right.
Like, it's like, I don't know what to say. Like, there are things that I find offensive, but it doesn't mean that the whole kit and caboodle of art has to be thrown away. Do I love Yellowface in any way, shape, or form? Not
Of course not.
particularly, you know? But is Yul Brenner Asian? He sure wasn't. I love The
Right.
King and I. I'm not going to apologize for loving The King and I don't know what, I just feel like there's so many levels of okayness. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, it's the conversation of discomfort versus lack of safety too. That is
Oh,
a
yeah, of
hard
course.
conversation to wade through, and so people can default to I feel unsafe when in reality maybe you just don't like it, or maybe someone else would feel it. It's all nuanced,
Mhm.
and we've lost that.
You know, and I feel like I'm out there on the front line
Yeah.
trying to be representational, like a representational role model, right? Like, I feel like I'm out there in projects that are not specifically Asian most of the time, where it's like not a
Yeah.
role that it's sort of like, oh, it has to be played by an Asian woman. Sometimes
Right.
it's just me playing a character that is me, like in Schmigadoon.
Right.
There's nothing in the script that's like, she's Asian, like, of course not. It's in Schmigadoon.
Right.
If it really was 1947, I wouldn't have been in that show, right? But because it's a kind of idealized universe, I am.
Yep.
And there's and I feel like there's something to be said for that because now anybody who watches that will go like, see, that person belongs in that world. That's the only way, Tom. It's like if we don't show people that we all belong in the same world, how are people going to get that through their thick skulls?
That is the only way.
It is the only way. And it's so depressing that it's the only way, but it kind of
Hmm.
seems to be the only way. You know, you got to
Yeah.
see it or you don't believe it or you don't feel it or get it. I don't know why,
Right.
but it's
Right.
there it is, you know. I'm not mad. I don't hate shows that like there are no Asian people in them or like there are, I'm obviously not a part of the world that's being addressed.
Sure.
Why would I be mad about that? It's like it's a story,
Mhm.
and you cast your story any way you want. Like I would never want to be one of those people that's like you've got to balance every cast, a certain way because that just seems ridiculous. But what I am trying to do is increase the opportunities for people of color to be involved in stories that maybe otherwise would just go default all white because that's
Right.
always been the default.
And beyond just ticking boxes, because
Yes, yes,
we're sort
yes.
of there too. Tokenism needs to have its place in the past.
Oh, well, there's no point to it. If I could tell you how many shows I've auditioned for where literally I was like, why am I here? And the
Hmm.
answer is obviously because we had to tell equity we saw an Asian person. And it's like, well, yes, but I'm not right for it, and you're not going to cast me. Like, why would you? I would be terrible at this. So for me, it's like there are actors for every part. There are
Yeah.
good actors for every part, and you just have to figure out how to use more of them. I don't know how else to put it,
Yeah.
or like not the same three over and over.
That.
Not that I don't love these actors. I do. I think they're fabulous. But at a certain point, or like just look at a story, look at a play and go like, okay, now, just because it's always been done with a whole bunch of white people, is there any context in which it would make sense if we didn't have every single person have to be white in it?
Well, when you did Falsetto Land, what was that experience like? Right, you played Trina. Is
Yes.
that right? Yeah.
Yes. That was an experience where, again, it's like you and your friends have an idea and
Hmm.
you're like, I wonder if anybody would let us do this,
Hmm.
right? So we had this idea and we asked Mia Katigbak, who ran the National Asian American Theater Company.
Hmm.
They were known for doing classic plays with all Asian casts, right? And we were like, okay, I know it's not a musical and it's not, but would you let us do it,
Yeah.
like as a benefit or something, one night only? And it was so successful that she was like, maybe we should do this, we should produce this, but like now we have to get the rights from Bill Finn to do a run of it
Right.
as opposed to just like one night concert. But he was cool and was like, okay, I guess we're doing it. But it was just, it's you and your friends going like, I don't see why it couldn't work, but I don't know if anybody cares, but let's try.
Yeah.
Well, that's really to me the whole point of theater. If
Yeah.
everybody just went like, I don't know if anybody's going to care, but let's try, I feel like theater would be a lot better.
Well, it requires empathy, and that is, maybe in short supply in the sort of macro level when we look around, but not amongst artists typically.
Yeah,
And,
not among
if we can
artists.
empathize with each other, yeah, let's look through other lenses.
That's all. I went to see that Noise is Off that Roundabout did a few years ago.
Hmm.
I don't know. Megan was in it. Rob
Yeah,
McClure.
at
Anyway,
the American Airlines. Yeah.
yeah, okay. And I'm literally watching it, going like, huh? Like look at this. Like, obviously, I've only ever seen it done with a whole bunch of white people. I get it.
Yeah.
Fine. Set in Britain. Fine, fine. I was like, it's a contemporary story set in the workplace, right? Set in the workplace where
Yeah.
we work. Where we work. It's a
Where
play.
we work. Right.
It's a play, right? It's a backstage at a play. That's where we work. It's a
Yep.
workplace. And I'm like, none of these people could be anything but white. I don't get it. And it's like, and it's Britain. So it's not like that isn't a completely multicultural society.
It's bonkers.
I was like, this is insane. Like literally, I was like, this is insane. Like I don't understand it. And it was a pretty contemporary production. Like it just happened like in the last 10 years, right? 10,
Yeah,
15 years.
yeah.
I'm like, so it wasn't like it's 1985 and no one's gonna go for that. I'm like, no, it's now. It's now. To me, if only every single producer would like look at their script and go like, when is this thing set? Is there any way, you know? Is there any good reason why this person couldn't be? That's all. That's all I'm
And
asking.
not just because you'll get raked over the coals if you don't. It has to be
No.
so much
Just because it
broader
might
than
give
that.
somebody really great an opportunity. And you know what?
Yeah,
So you go through your ideas and you don't like anybody. Okay, you don't like anybody and you go back to the same 5 people. I get it.
sure.
But just try a little harder. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
Because how else are we going to keep moving the line?
and
How
we can't give up just because we think we've done everything we can. We have to learn what else there is to do. I had that conversation multiple times on the faculty where I served at the university, and well, we've done everything we can to diversify our student population. No, we've done everything we know how to do, so we
right,
need to learn more because what we know how to do doesn't work. Yeah,
you know. And I do understand, like, especially like in a student theater situation, it's like this is the pool of people you have,
of course.
right? Like you're gonna cast whoever you've got, the best person you've got, whatever. It's an academic situation. It's not
Sure.
real world, whatever. But I'm saying we live in the real world.
Hmm.
And I'm asking commercial theater
Hmm.
to cut us a little break and be more inclusive.
Yeah.
That's really it. I I got a I got a phone full of names. If anybody needs an Asian actor and they can't think of anybody, they don't know somebody in the right age range, call me. I got
Hmm.
people. I know people. And if I don't know somebody, I'll go find them.
Yeah,
You know, uh, you know, um, Christine Toy Johnson.
I do.
Yeah, so she is part of, she's starting this database basically of Asian American actors. So that basically, if anybody ever comes a look in, here's a database.
Yeah.
You know,
There's no excuse now.
there's no excuse. It's like,
Right.
oh, look at her. Oh, she's that age. Okay, great. Here's some YouTube videos of her. Great. This is her resume. Just so like people are not just like going like, I don't know anybody. I can't think of anyone. It's like I'm tired.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there was a point in time back in the dark ages when we started, Tom, that there were not that many of us. Now there are
Yeah,
many of us,
yeah.
and they are trained. They're
Yes.
so much better than we were at that age. And there's boatloads of them, so many people, and you just go like, you know, it's stunning to me. I'm thrilled
Yeah,
about it. But it wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a few people going, I guess we could put Ann Harada in that track,
yeah.
or Christine Toy Johnson, or Jason Ma,
Hmm.
or whoever. You just got to see it. You just got to see it. And I can't stress enough how much it means that there are so many more Asian performers in the world now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so proud of you. It's so great to see you, to hear your tales, and to catch up. And it's just great to see you, pal.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
Beyond our dancing dreidel days.
Oh, nobody likes a fruit cake. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Boop
gee.
emoji. What are you looking forward to? Are you going away anywhere sometime? You...
I don't know. I'm trying to do a whole bunch of stuff right now. Just in terms of new projects, me doing every reading under the sun and stuff.
Sure.
Um, yeah, my life is very confusing, Tom.
I'm sure very exciting too, though.
Sure. Um, define very exciting. Um,
Touche.
it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Like, for example, tonight I got a last minute gig. It's not even a gig
Okay.
because I don't think it pays anything. I got a last minute request a couple of days ago because our friend Santino Fontana was
Love.
supposed to host this Q&A with Bobby and Kristen Lopez
Mm.
at Classic Stage Company, right? And for some reason, he got some work and he had to go away and he couldn't do it. And he was like, Anne, can you do this? And I was like, I guess, sure. Why me? He was like, well, they like to use artists who've worked with the people that are actually being, interviewed.
Yeah.
And I was like, Bobby and Kristen Lopez. Okay, that's fair. I actually have worked with them and I know them pretty well. So I guess this is a decent,
It's
swap.
legit.
Or maybe not. Or maybe I'll get there. And all those people are gonna be like, where's Santino Fontana? I thought you said Santino Fontana was gonna be here. And I'm gonna be sorry.
I think you'll be okay. I
I think
think they
I'll
will
be
be
fine, but I'm just
pleasantly
saying, like, this
surprised.
is the kind of high powered, gig I'm
Gig, yeah.
working on right now. Whereas I'm going like, what am I gonna, like, what kind of questions am I gonna ask them? It's like I was at their wedding.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I
well,
don't
that's
know
the
if I.
thing. People enjoy hearing real conversations. This is what I've found in podcasting because I listened to podcasts before I started one, and I don't necessarily structure the questions because I find when I'm speaking to somebody that I know, even peripherally, conversation just sort of naturally, unpacks itself, and you know them so well. Just chat. The
Oh
crowd will love
yeah.
it. They're gonna love
Oh
it.
no, I have a whole list of hilarious questions that I have no idea who wrote them. I'm like, oh really? Oh, okay.
Okay. Uh, well, sadly, I have to wrap us up. Thank you half hours turned into thank you 45 minutes, and that happens with most of my guests because I love
Oh
to chat
well,
and I love to
we're
hear the
chatty. We're
tales.
we're chatty people.
We are chatty people, but it's great to see you. I'm
Great to
wishing
see
you
you.
everything wonderful tonight and beyond, and I can't wait to catch up again soon.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm happy that I'm sad that you moved to Columbus, Ohio. Though I
It's
like
great there. I
Columbus,
mean,
it's one of my favorite towns.
same. But I'm back in the city a lot, so next time
Yeah,
I'm
you
there, we'll have
must
to grab a
be.
drink.
I mean, I just
Yeah,
don't understand how
yeah.
this works, but okay.
It's a weird world. Yeah. But I love you. It's great to see you, and I hope I see you soon.
Thank you. I hope to see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, half hour.
Boxland Media. Think big.